What's up YouTube and welcome to the video. So the video is all about ASP.NET Core Web API, and at the end of this video you will be able to understand how a web API works and you will be able to create your own web API using ASP.NET Core. So let us begin. So it works like this. Let's say I have a website that shows the weather data of cities all around the world. What I want to do is I want to make the data public, but not all the data. I just want the temperatures of cities all around the world to be made public. What I can do is I can make a web API for this. So any web app on the internet can access my web API and get the data of a certain city in response of that request. So if a web app is requesting the data of city Karachi, then the API will respond in the temperature of Karachi. So all of my data would not be made public, but only the data that I am choosing to be made public. So that's how API works. So the user cannot talk to the main application directly, but they will talk to the API, and the API will then direct the request to another API or the main application which talks to the database and then return the response to the web app that made the request. Now let us make our own web API using ASP.NET Core. Let us create a new project and we are looking for ASP.NET Core Web API and we will name it WWE. I'm using the .NET 5 version, but you can use any versions that you like. It won't make a difference. Create. We are assuming that the WWE wants to create a web API to make the information of the wrestlers public, including their age, their net worth, and other information. So these are the files which are created as a sample. Add, and let's name it info controller, and I will also create a folder model. So let us create a model of a wrestler. Each wrestler will have a separate ID. Now we will use the model inside our controller. So for that, using wwe.model, let us put the API controller attribute. Now I won't use any database, but I will use local data for the sake of simplicity. So I am creating a list of wrestlers, and here I will put the information of some wrestlers. Now I can create a get method to get all the wrestlers. So I will just use a method new JSON result and pass the wrestlers list inside it. We also need to give a route to the controller or to the method or both of them. So let me give the controller a route. So a route attribute and wwe/API. So this is it. In .NET 5 or later versions, the Swagger automatically creates the request for you, but it's having trouble probably because we have not defined the routes for the method. So I'm gonna type it inside the URL. So wwe/API. You are seeing the information of all the wrestlers in an array of objects, which is a valid JSON. We can also give the route to this method. So if we have multiple methods, it's better to give routes all. And we can also define that this is a HTTP GET method. We don't have to define this because a method is HTTP GET at default, but we can define it just to make it stand out. Now we can also create a method to get the information of a specific wrestler. So let me copy all of this, paste it here, and we can say get info slash ID. So the ID can be variable. The request will have ID in the URL, and the ID will decide that for each wrestler in wrestlers, if the ID is equals to the ID of any wrestler, then return new JSON result of that wrestler. Otherwise, it will say that. Now let us test this out. www/api/getinfo/the ID. So the ID is 101. So we are getting the name John Cena. We are getting all of its information. If I type an ID which is not present, let's say 102, it will say that no wrestler was found with the given ID. And now if I open the application, and the advantage of Swagger is it shows me all the available routes, and I can choose any of the routes to get the data. So this is the response. I can also choose this request and press try it out, execute, and it's giving me the data of Triple H. So this is a great advantage of using .NET 5 or later. So this is how an API works. You request a data, it processes your request, then make a response according to the request and pass it back to you. So this is all for the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. See you next time.